And we are kicking off today with WWE NXT as Ilja Dragunov was stretchered away and placed in a neck brace during his match with Holland after a spot with the Brawling Brute went wrong. This spot comes less than 2 years after Holland was involved in the spot that legitimately broke Big E's neck, and now the former rugby player has responded online. On Twitter, Holland apologized for what happened to Dragunov and added that this is not who he is and sent a get well soon to the reigning NXT champion. It's worth remembering that this is a part of an angle and that Holland and Dragunov are playing the story well, even if some fans online think that this story is crossing a line. Some have taken issue to the notion that Holland injuring Big E is essentially being turned into a story, though sources in NXT told Fightful that everyone seemed pleased with this week's segment. The producers were also pleased with the reaction the angle got from the crowd, but what do you make of this angle? Let us know in the comments. For months, somebody wearing MJF's devil mask has been appearing on AEW programming, and with the help of their henchmen, has been causing havoc for the All Elite roster. On the latest Dynamite, Samoa Joe called out MJF and blamed him for being the devil and orchestrating the backstage attacks, and MJF responded by blaming Joe. A video then interrupted and saw the Devil challenge MJF for the ROH World Tag Team titles through an on-screen message, but fans are growing bored of what they're seeing. On Twitter, fans argued that this angle has been dragged on too long, with one fan arguing that the infamous Aces and Eights story from TNA was more interesting than this. Another suggested that with all this build, the unmasking won't live up to the hype, while another fan said that Tony Khan screwed up by not having the reveal last month at Full Gear. The general gist of the comments was that this angle has simply gone on for too long, and whoever ends up being revealed as the devil, for many fans, this angle is already past its peak. Now 2023 has been a banner year for the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, who has faced and defeated some of the top stars in the company. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, The Miz, and Chad Gable are just some of the talented names to fall to the Austrian in 2023. And now, Gunther once again has his sights set on Brock Lesnar. On Busted Open Radio, Gunther reiterated his previous point that he wants to face the Beast incarnate and knows the perfect setting for what'd be a dream match. He said, "WrestleMania 40 is the time for that. Let's see, but I feel in the long run, one name I can always bring up is Brock because I feel like I'm the end boss to a lot of people, and I feel like Brock is somebody that has perfected being an end boss, and I gotta prove myself with him in the ring too." Gunther vs. Lesnar is a match countless people would love to see, and that includes Mark Henry, who serves as a host on Busted Open Radio podcast. When the Imperium leader shared his plan to face Lesnar, Henry was visibly excited and was seen rolling in his chair and rubbing his hands together. Fans were teased with Gunther vs. Lesnar during this year's Men's Royal Rumble match, but that hasn't led to a match yet, and fans and Gunther are hoping that changes soon enough. But would you be interested in seeing this match? And who would you like to see win if the pair collide in Philadelphia? Let us know down below. Back in August, it was reported that the AOP had re-signed with WWE, and in fact their return to the promotion had happened months before this report. Clearly, the AOP have been under contract for some time, but have yet to make an appearance on TV, but that all could be about to change. Fightful Select reports that AOP are due to make a return to TV soon, and the plan for the pair as of right now is for them to appear on SmackDown, though that could always change. In addition to AOP, the August report stated that Paul Ellering was part of their comeback deal, and it's believed he'll be making a return to TV alongside Akam and Razor. AOP are former NXT and Raw Tag Team champions, but haven't wrestled since their previous release from WWE. And who do you hope to see the pair face once they're back on TV? In August of last year, Alexis Leet was signed to a WWE contract and reported to the Performance Center, but her time with the promotion did not last long. Last month, Roxanne Perez confirmed in an Instagram comment that Leet is no longer signed, and based on her tone and the response from Cora Jade, it seems both were happy to see her out of the company. In a recent video, Leet addressed her release from WWE and took aim at Perez and started by bringing up posts from a fan account that were making fun of her. Leet then proceeded to call out Perez and Jade for commenting on that post, adding that Perez is a mental health advocate, but her comments seemed very unkind. Alexis Leet said that she is looking forward to acting opportunities in her future, and she is not dwelling on the past, and her video has since been going viral online. Jade and Perez have long been positioned to be the future of WWE's women's division, and that could certainly be the case, but Alexis Lee clearly sees a different side to the two popular superstars. On this week's AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley lost his AEW Continental Classic match to Jay White, which has had huge ramifications for the finals of the Gold League. Rather than face Swerve Strickland in a singles match, Moxley will now face Strickland and White to determine the Gold League winner, and the former AEW World Champion isn't happy. In a post-match promo shared online, Moxley said he was f***ed off at the loss, as he really wanted to go 5-0 in the Gold League and earn a total of 15 points. Moxley then recalled his promo to Swerve Strickland the prior week, in which he said learning how to lose is a part of being great, and ended this promo more determined than ever. The winner of this Gold League triple threat will face the winner of a match between the top two scoring Blue League winners, with that finals match taking place at World's End. The winner of that match will be crowned the Triple Crown Champion, with an AEW, ROH, and New Japan title to their name, and will that person be Jon Moxley? Time will tell. Over to AEW, as Parker Boudreaux had a lot of eyes on the start of his career, with many calling him a mini Brock Lesnar, but his career has stalled in recent months. Parker has had to take time off due to an injury, with his most recent match for AEW being on a March episode of Rampage, but now we could be seeing him back in the ring soon enough. Ringside News was told by sources directly connected to the situation that Parker Boudreaux is returning soon and has already started training for his comeback coming off his injury. It wasn't confirmed when exactly Boudreaux will be back, but this update is a very good sign for the man once known as Holland in NXT. At 25 years old, Parker has years in the ring ahead of him, and here's hoping that he can avoid similar injuries from here on. And how would you book Boudreaux on AEW TV? WWE released news now as Matt Riddle was one of the biggest stars let go by the promotion back in September, and with his non-compete a thing of the past, he's since joined MLW. Riddle will compete for the promotion at their January 6th event in New York City, and we now know how his deal with MLW came together. On Busted Open Radio, Court Bauer spoke about Matt's past MLW run and said that from around 2017 to 2018, he wanted Matt to be the face of MLW. As we know, Riddle ended up joining WWE, and Bauer added that he's excited to see where the original bro fits in with MLW in 2024. Bauer said that Riddle is going to make constant appearances on most of the MLW shows moving forward, and revealed that Riddle can work elsewhere during his stint with the promotion. Bauer teased that there is more planned for the former WWE superstar, and he'll reveal it on his own when the time is right, so expect big things for the former US champion in due time. In recent months, Bayley has been trying to prove her worth to Damage Control, and while it's been teased that she'll be kicked out soon enough, that hasn't happened to the role model yet. Bayley's future with the faction is uncertain, but what we do know is that she'll be staying, as PW Insider broke the news that Bayley has come to terms with WWE for a new deal. This new deal is said to be a multi-year contract with WWE, and the former champion is the latest superstar to get re-signed to a lengthy contract. Both Rey and Dominic Mysterio have been re-signed to 5-year contracts, and this is the latest contract for Bayley, who officially joined WWE in late 2012 and debuted in NXT the next year. Bayley has often been praised for her ring work and character skills, and has been announced for next month's Women's Royal Rumble match, and win or lose, expect to see more of her in the years to come. Now, Thunder Rosa hasn't competed for AEW in over a year, but she recently returned to AEW programming and will be back in the ring very soon. With AEW Collision going through San Antonio next week, Rosa is excited that she'll be competing in her hometown in a tag team match, pitting herself and Abaddon against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Ahead of her long-awaited in-ring return, Rosa dropped a cryptic video on social media and spoke of her burial and upcoming return to action. It's interesting that Rosa used that word in particular, as burial could simply be about graves and her career rising from the seeming dead, or it could be the wrestling meaning of the word burial. During her hiatus, Rosa was accused of being toxic to other women on the roster, was accused of exaggerating her injury to avoid losing, and was seemingly buried by some on AEW All Access. Whatever the meaning of Rosa's video, fans will get to see her back in action next week, and we'll have to see what's next for her now that she's rejoining the AEW women's roster. Now, WWE is always on the hunt for new talent, and this week, the company officially signed a new superstar with a lot of family history. According to PW Insider, Brogan Finley has officially signed a deal with WWE NXT after impressing at a tryout at the Performance Center earlier this year. Brogan is a fourth-generation talent, with his father being the well-respected Dave "Fit" Finley, who competed for WWE in the 2000s and continues to work backstage to this day. Both Brogan's grandfather and great-grandfather were also wrestlers during their respective eras, and Brogan's brother David Finley is the current leader of the Bullet Club in New Japan. Brogan showcased his commitment and skills during his tryout and was obviously a standout talent, and his contract was thought to be a long time coming. Now Brogan Finley is an NXT superstar, and expect the fourth-generation wrestler to be one to watch when he makes his way to TV. On December 31st, it'll have been 1 year since Goldberg's contract with WWE expired, and while he's spoken at length about having one more match, we're yet to see him back in the ring. It's been rumored for some time that Goldberg could show up in AEW for this final run, as the All Elite company would give him a huge platform, but if that's the plan, it's been a slow process so far. PW Insider was asked about Goldberg's potential debut in AEW during a Q&A, and said that while Tony Khan has spoken positively on Goldberg, there's no plans at this time to bring him in. One major player in all of this is Barry Bloom, who is Goldberg's agent and has represented several big names in talks with AEW, including the Elite. It was Bloom who secured huge deals that'll keep the Elite around for years to come, and while he could one day bring Goldberg to AEW, there's nothing in the works as of right now. If you've seen 2019's Fighting With My Family, you'll know that Saraya is just one wrestler in her family, and while she has seen international success, her brother has been less fortunate. Despite his best efforts, Zack Knight, aka Zack Zodiac, was never signed by WWE, but he recently made his in-ring debut for All Elite Wrestling. PW Insider reports that before this week's Dynamite went on the air, Zodiac faced Peter Avalon in his first match and was able to get a win over the AEW veteran. Zack fared better than his younger sister as Saraya lost to Riho on the show, meaning she won't be challenging for the AEW Women's World Championship at World's End. Saraya has often spoke about wanting to help her brother get a foot in the door, and he's now had just that, but it'll be up to Zack Zodiac to prove he deserves to stay with AEW. With Impact's relaunch as TNA just weeks away, the promotion is signing several big names to contracts, and now the new TNA will feature plenty of Dani Luna. On Twitter, Impact TNA announced that the English wrestler has signed a contract to officially make her a TNA knockout, and this comes after several impressive outings with Impact. Since making her Impact debut in May, Luna has worked with the likes of Trinity, Deonna Purrazzo, and faced Jordynne Grace at Turning Point, and now fans can expect to see more of her in TNA. At World's End, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega were supposed to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team titles, but that was before we learned that the Cleaner is battling diverticulitis. Now Omega is expected to be out of action for an unspecified amount of time, and we have a slight update on the former AEW World Champion. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was noted that Omega is making progress and doing better, but he has a long ways to go before he can make his return to action. Omega actually appeared on Dynamite earlier this month while sick, but was able to tough it out for the show, and we're wishing Kenny a full and speedy recovery from this unfortunate situation. As reported earlier this week, Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount have been discussing a possible merger, which could have massive implications for the world of pro wrestling. Mergers like these often result in changes to programming of both sides, and WBD is the current distributor of AEW, but they could also soon be broadcasting Monday Night Raw as well. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was confirmed that a potential deal that'd bring Raw to WBD is majorly in play, as the Raw brand has a lot of value attached to it right now. It was added that Raw is more expensive than AEW, but that with their much higher viewership, the Red brand would make a much bigger difference to the ratings, which is what WBD are looking for. It's ironic that Raw is being seen as far more valuable to WBD when AEW viewers on average have more disposable income, but WBD is ultimately looking for what will improve their ratings. If WBD acquires Raw, it could result in major changes for AEW, as the broadcaster might be willing to cut AEW out in order to afford the more expensive WWE show. Triple H and Nick Khan had a lengthy meeting with WBD's Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer Bruce Campbell earlier this week, and it may be a matter of time before Raw is broadcast by WBD. On this week's Dynamite, Jim Ross returned to AEW TV to call the main event of Dynamite, and while backstage at the show, he was able to bump into some friendly faces backstage. On his Grilling JR podcast, the WWE Hall of Famer said one name he ran into was Dean Malenko, who unfortunately in recent years has had to battle the effects of Parkinson's disease. On his podcast, Ross revealed that Malenko recently underwent brain surgery, which it is hoped will stop the tremors caused by the disease. Ross added that Malenko is such a sweetheart of a guy, and called Dean one of the unsung heroes of AEW as he's worked backstage with the company for some time. Malenko has years of experience in the ring, and his coaching is truly valuable to the young stars of AEW, and we're wishing him well following this surgery on his brain. In 2020, WWE introduced the Retribution stable to TV, and while the group had an interesting start and were led by Mustafa Ali, the faction's momentum quickly fizzled out. The group would last less than a year before they ended, but this week, Mace shared what the original plans for Retribution were. Speaking to Denise Salcido of Instinct Culture, Mace said that he thinks WWE were trying an Antifa thing, but then WWE had second thoughts about the politically charged idea. Mace said that with WWE being such a big company now, there's not much room for controversy, and said that WWE decided the faction should continue, but without any allusions to Antifa. WWE has had some controversial politically motivated gimmicks in the past, and they are rarely fondly remembered, so the company did the wise thing by toning down what Retribution was going to be. With his non-compete clause with WWE finished, Mustafa Ali has launched his world tour, and as the name suggests, his appearances outside of WWE won't be confined to just the US. After Ali shared a political campaign-inspired video, the former superstar was announced for several promotions and is set to make his UK independent debut very soon. Ali will be at Progress Wrestling's The Light of the Dragon event on Sunday, January 28th, and with so many bookings already, expect to see plenty of Mustafa Ali outside of WWE. And we're ending with Bray Wyatt, who passed away in August at the tragically young age of 36. And while his death affected countless wrestling fans, nobody was more affected than his family. Wyndham leaves behind his fiancée JoJo and his 4 children, as well as his brother, sister, and father. And sadly, this isn't the only tragedy the Rotundas faced this year. On Wrestling Talk, Bray's father Mike Rotunda revealed that just 2 weeks before his son's death, his mother, Wyatt's grandmother, passed away at the age of 86. Mike said that Wyndham was able to make the trip up to New York City to visit his grandmother before she passed away, and this has clearly been a very difficult year for the family. WWE has put Wyatt on a Legends contract, securing that proceeds from merch will go to JoJo and his children, and we're continuing to send the very best to the Rotunda family at this sad time.